the Primitive Patterns Podcast. It's time to live your mystery. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Sunday morning, boys. How are we?
Pretty sore this morning after that 20K run, and then me and Josh got into a little fight afterwards. So
I was going to say, I don't know if it's just from the 20K run.
My neck feels pretty fucked up in my shoulder.
I don't know if the listeners can see, but got a little battle wound.
Brotherly love.
Yeah, little backstory. We hiked up the escarpment, ran across 20 kilometers. At the end of the 20-kilometer run, the boys are gassed, and these guys decide to have a tap-out fight on the top of the mountain. And we had a couple elderly spectators there, so I was a little bit... Cole's notes, Luke makes the turn. We got like 500 meters left. Bodies me hard.
After Josh was chirping me pretty consistently for most of the run, so it was well earned.
So then I body him at the end of the run, very end, give him a little shot, and then things escalated from there. Ended up me and him on the ground, which is hilarious too, because Cole's like, only fucking you guys would finish a 20-kilometer run with a tap-out fight. And then, yeah, we had a couple, this old couple on the yoga deck. He's like, way too much, guys, way too much.
Josh,
I wonder what he was thinking.
Josh scored a great takedown and pretty well assaulted me to the ground. But I came in with a nice sucker punch and got him right under the eye. So
shook hands, gave each other a kiss after, hopped in the bay. All was good. But yeah, 20K run, tap-out fight. It's an adventurous Saturday morning, to say the least, which kind of leads us into what we wanted to talk about a little bit today, was just being adventurous and the importance of adventure and the importance of seeking it in your life and not becoming stagnant, especially as young men.
Hell yeah. Like, I think for us, big time, when we start to feel stagnant, when we're not pushing ourselves physically or trying to move the business forward or going somewhere to create something new, I don't know, me personally, I know I can speak for you guys too, you just start to feel this internal, like I'm stagnant. I should be pushing. I should be adventuring. I should be seeing more of the world. I should be living my mystery. And it's a pretty deflating feeling, I think, when you're not doing that. And that's when you can get really hooked into shitty things, because you're searching for that fulfillment that you can't get unless you walk the line, like Peterson talks about, between chaos and order.
Yeah. I also think that, again, especially for young men, this is kind of the time in life, like the age where that can really start to happen, where you lose that adventurous side. You obviously, when you're a little kid, naturally at the core of being a little kid, you're adventurous, and then everything is just new and novel kind of as you grow up. Like, you're experiencing going to high school and new friends and all these adventures, and then you go to university or, you know, whatever you do at that like late teen, early 20 age. And then I feel like this is kind of the age where people settle into careers, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at all. Like, do what makes you happy. But for us, it's important because we feel as young men, we need that adventure to keep that like spark of life within us. And I feel like this is the age where that can easily slip if you decide to let it. Yeah, like, you start to settle into a lot of things, right? So like you said, you go to high school, you go to uni, you start a new job, you get into a new relationship. Maybe if that relationship has gone really well to this point, by the time you're 30 or approaching 30, whatever, now you've been in that relationship for a long time. Now that new job isn't new anymore. So there's a lot of aspects of your life that can kind of become stagnant in a way. Anybody that's been in a job for a long time or in a relationship for a long time, you know that you have to put in the effort to make it feel vibrant and new and exciting, right? Just as the same way that you have to put effort into your life, into making it feel adventurous. Like, it's not just going to happen for you, right? So whether that comes down to challenging yourself in physical aspects and really taking on, like us going to the Grand Canyon or hiking volcanoes or whatever, or planning out things to do with your loved ones and not just waiting and hoping that it's going to happen, like actually sitting down, planning out a camping trip or planning out whatever it is, planning out a trip to another country, whatever. But it definitely takes a lot of effort to keep your life feeling adventurous. But I also think, like, for Luke, when he talks about adventure, I feel the same way. I'm sure you do. It's not just like Like adventure to me means taking something on that isn't comfortable. Like it might be scary or like it might feel daunting. And to me, that's true adventure. You know, like just planning like fun little things to do here and there. Like that's adventurous in a way. But taking on a new business venture that kind of scares you, or taking on, like you said, Grand Canyon physical challenge that feels daunting to you and you know you have to prepare for it. Those are the things for us that I think really get our juices going. And
Oh yeah, or
right,
like just going to a country you've never been to with like a decent plan of what's going to go on, but not fully knowing exactly like, oh, I plan this, like going, okay, maybe you have one thing booked and then you plan. Um, because I know for certain, and this is talked about in a lot of circles that I listen to, is like as we get older, we decrease novelty. And think about, let's use the example of a muscle. If you stop using a certain range of motion, your body's not going to allow you to move within that range anymore, correct?
yeah, for sure. Move it or lose it, right? Like keep it
Move it
simple.
or lose it. So when it comes to your brain and when it comes to you being open to new experience and keeping an adventurous spirit alive, it's not going to happen unless you put yourself in those novel situations, because you see most people, everything starts to collapse inward and they no longer have that spark. And they get very uncomfortable doing anything that's out of routine. And that's what we're trying to prevent. And you see it starting to happen now, even at our age. But it's like, if you want to keep doing cool, fun, adventurous things that make you feel alive, that make you feel fucking connected to the universe and to life, you have to make a diligent effort to throw yourself into novelty.
Yeah, you have to do it. You can't wait to do it. I think most people usually decide like, oh, you know, once I'm done this, or once my career is at this point or whatever, then I'll start to adventure. Like you said, like you got to use that muscle of adventure or else you're just going to lose it.
Yeah.
Because if you think, you know, taking that leap at 27 is scary, try taking that leap at 37 when your life has probably more complexity or at least more responsibility, right? Maybe you have a family, kids, whatever. Try working on that muscle of adventure at that point if you haven't done it for a decade.
And also, sometimes taking that leap of faith into adventure isn't the most logical step. And what I mean by that is, like, right now, we have a successful business here in Collingwood. Things are moving well. It would be super easy to just be like, we're staying here 12 months a year, every year for the rest of our lives. We're going to live a comfortable, good life. We're good. Instead, we're like, we're going to a remote, well, not remote, we're going to a beach to open a gym. And it's like, why? It's not about the money. It's not about anything other than it's going to be novel. It's going to be adventurous. And it then adventure opens up that ceiling to like endless possibility. You don't know what's coming next. And it's so refreshing for your brain to be in a state where you're like, I don't know what's next, but let's fucking go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it can be a little scary, but it also is just like, let's go.
You
Like,
feel
let's
alive.
do it. You do.
You have a
feel
little
alive.
tick, like you have like,
Yeah.
it's not anxiety in the sense of like, oh no, I'm so anxious. It's like this internal, like there's pressure, there's something new and you can feel it and you're like,
keeps you on your toes.
I'm on the fucking edge.
Yeah.
And it feels good.
Yeah. I think like you definitely need to seek that out. Like you're never just gonna all of a sudden stumble across that feeling one day or stumble across that opportunity. Like when it comes to filling your life with things that are adventurous or are going to make you feel that way, are going to make you grow and expand and just become a better version of yourself, you need to take action. And I think that's where a lot of people really need to like put a big focus is like, yeah, okay, like have the idea that you want to be more adventurous or do things that you're uncomfortable with, but that comes down to just taking action. Like it's so easy to just have ideas and talk about ideas with people and just allow that cycle to happen for years and years and years, and all of a sudden it's 5 years down the road and you never did the thing that you were talking about when you were 25 and now you're 30.
Yeah.
And time fucking flies.
It does fucking fly.
If there's one statement that's true, and I think I've felt it, especially for whatever reason, but over the past like year, I'm like, holy shit, time just flies. Like it goes by so quickly. So if you don't take action, even with just like the little things that are going to lead you to the bigger adventurous things that we're talking about, like that's priority one. If you want to take anything from the idea behind this podcast of living a more adventurous life, I would say it's just take action, even on the small things, like just do it. But yeah, for 100%. It's also not like we take action. I don't want to make it sound like we're sitting here being like, we take action on every fucking thing that it's like, how many ideas have we had? You know, like that's also not reality. It's not like we're telling people to just like that movie, Yes Man, Jim Carrey, where he just says yes to everything and he goes on like crazy adventures. Like it's not like we say yes to everything, right?
He wasn't saying that though.
No, I'm just saying like take
yeah,
but he's saying like even take action on the little things, which
Yeah.
I understand. But I'm just saying I don't want to make it come across like we're trying to say like, you know, like any idea that you have that's adventurous, hop on it and take it. Because like you said,
Yeah.
sometimes that's probably not the
Yeah.
right. No, I'm just
the
saying
right
if you
answer, yeah.
have like an overarching idea of what you want to do in life or a big goal that you're working towards, it just comes down to taking action on the little things. Like our idea of building this gym down in Guatemala, we actually spoke about that. Was it this past winter? The first time we went down there, we were like, oh, it would be so sweet to have a gym. And we had a good conversation about that laying by the pool, and we were like so pumped on it. And if it could have easily just ended there. And then like we had that talk, it was sweet, but then we went out surfing and we had a good meal and we kind of forgot about it and nothing happened. But we spoke to locals, like people that live in that town locally. We ended up finding a spot. We ordered gym equipment right away. Just like the action of ordering that gym equipment or making that down payment of uh, the build that we had to do on our friend's property to make it happen. Like you could just push those things off because it's uncomfortable to do, right? But those little moments of just taking that action right away, now it's like, okay, we're in it. Like we don't really have any other choice. We're committed to it. So now it's happening.
Yeah.
Right? And even on a smaller scale, like you want to, you've always talked about doing a motorcycle trip with your dad and he's getting up there in age and, but you don't have your motorcycle license. Like just go do the test or go do like the weekend course on how to drive a motorcycle. Like take that small step, you know, because you're not just all of a sudden going to be on a Harley riding the coast with your dad by not taking action. Right. So just like the little moments of being able to take action, that's what's really important.
And the thing about adventure too is generally when you're following adventure, you're following your heart. And that's one thing I always try and focus on now when I make a decision because it's like I know that it's truth, but it's how do you embody it and actually do it is if you are following your heart, it can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Because if you can look yourself in the mirror and be like, I followed my heart and I actually really wanted to do that, even if the outcome isn't what you had hoped or the trip isn't what you had hoped or this or that or the other thing, you followed your heart and you're where you should be.
Yeah.
But if you're not following your heart and you end up somewhere, then you're going to feel fucking lost.
Yeah, definitely. If you're chasing something that isn't aligned with actually who you are and you fail at that, now you're going to feel like you made a huge mistake, right? And but like you said, if you're following your heart and you're doing something that you're passionate about or something that you really drives you and makes you excited when you wake up, even if that venture fails, you're like, at least I went for it.
Fuck yeah. But I think that's adventure at its core is a process of following your heart. Because if you think of adventure, anything that's adventurous, it excites you, it pulls you forward, it makes you excited for the future. It allows you to live your mystery. Like it's just pulling you to something that you're called to for whatever reason. That's what adventure is. It's like the hero's journey. You go on that adventure and you learn lessons and you come back a better person. It doesn't matter what that looks like.
Yeah. And honestly, people say this all the time, but like you should actually, in a lot of ways, be looking to fail. And because you just learn so much, right? So if you're doing something that you really feel it deep in like your soul and your heart, and it's something that you're passionate about and you fail, it's actually a good thing. Like you're going to learn so much from that. For sure. I don't think we've ever done anything like together or with the business, whatever, that we did it for the first time and we were like, it stayed like that forever. You know, we were like, that was completely dialed. That's exactly what it needs to be from here on out. Like usually, even if it's not a full failure, there's lessons to be learned and there's growth to be had no matter what.
Like,
Right.
dude,
So go ahead.
just think about how all this shit started with us building a little remote gym on a beach in Nicaragua and thinking, oh, we're going to get a ton of people to come down. It's going to be crazy. Going to run retreats. We're like 20 years old at that point. And like we had a few people come down and visit us, and we ran one really small retreat, which was cool as shit at that time. But that adventure led us to like learning about Paul Chek, getting more excited about breath work, getting more in tune with ourselves, and like living in a totally different environment. Like that adventure didn't yield maybe exactly what we thought it would, but it gave us exactly what was needed for the next step.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy when you think back to it.
It is crazy. Like that was the first time that I had an extended period of time, 3 or 4 months, to really focus on my own education when it came to, you know, human movement and the gym side of things. Because before that, I had gone to firefighting school. We were running the paint company in the summer. We were painting. And so that was the first opportunity I had to take full time and focus in on that. Then the fall, when we got back the following summer, we started running the outdoor workouts.
Yeah.
Met a community of people, started running backyard workouts in Nicaragua, met the guy that does our apparel. So like just taking, like you said, that leap of faith into adventure and being like, yeah, we're 22, whatever, but we found this beach. We love it. We're going to throw up a few pull-up bars, some dip bars, rent out this house and see if we can run a retreat. It's just a trickle-down effect.
And think of the memories we made. Like, think of how many of our friends came down and, like, the shit that we did and just everything. And also, too, it was like, and whatever, that it was a huge thing for us. One of our first experiences with psychedelics was on that beach.
Yeah.
In a super remote place. And that definitely changed our mind in ways, too. Like, just every little fucking thing that happened that brought us to that beach and then what grew from it and where we are now. It's like, I think without that period there, Primitive Patterns doesn't become what it is. That was like the birthing of it for real.
And also like where it is right now is not where we envision the end goal. And we're still working towards pushing it further and further, which is why it's so important to going back to what you said a few minutes ago about following your heart. It's so important that you are doing that, because having an adventurous life is truly a lifelong journey. So if you're not doing what you actually truly believe in, like we started that when it's been 10 years now and we've done a lot of cool shit. We've got the business and the brand to a pretty cool spot, but we're nowhere near satisfied or done with that adventure. Like that's just going to keep going. Yeah. Well, it's like this Guatemala opportunity is like Nicaragua 2.0. We're a little older. We have a little bit more experience under our belt, but in the same breath, like it honestly might be more of a risk in a way than it was back then.
Fucking right.
Because back then we had absolutely nothing to lose. Like we were, like you said, literally 20 and 22 years old. Now it's like some people might look at it and be like, oh, well, you have an established business in Collingwood. You have an established clientele that come to the gym. You know, some people have said like, you know, oh, what are they going to think, or what's their reaction, or are they going to want to come back and train with you when you guys come back because you're leaving for an extended period of time. So, and you could look at it and say, well, there's actually more risk on us now, even though the brand might be a little bit more established and we're a little bit more established as individuals. It's still, again, we're still taking that leap again. And when you think about what it did for us back then, it could do that much and then some this time. And so,
and I think all of us can agree too, because we've talked about it a lot in the past year or two, is that the thing that actually is like most scary to me is staying in the same place for the next X amount of decades. Like the idea of not taking more risk and going for it in life scares the fuck out of me. So it doesn't really matter anyone's perception of what you're doing, because you know internally, like, I need the adventure. I'm being called and I'm going to fucking go for it. And I know I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. And with this gym idea too, when we did the heart protocol with PJ, that opened us up. That really showed us or reminded us what we truly valued in life and what was super important to us. And obviously family, and girlfriends and close friends and all that stuff, connection with the community of people that like you deeply love and need in your life. But the one other thing that came up, and that was like the final straw of like, we're doing this thing, is the gym.
Mhm.
So like you said, that scares me too, is like, if you looked back 5-10 years from now and you knew that we were getting called to this place to take on this adventure and you just didn't do it because, you know,
It
you
would
were,
eat you up.
because you were complacent about, you know, we're already here. We're in this nice house together. We have this business here. We're just going to stay comfortable. We're going to build that. Not that there's anything wrong with that life. Like, we're so lucky to be living the life we're living.
100%.
But in the same breath, 10 years from now, you'd be kicking yourself. You'd be like, fuck, man. As if we didn't take that on when we were that age together.
Yeah.
So yeah, adventure in your mid to late 20s, boys.
All through life, man.
Yeah.
I think when I look at the happiest and healthiest people I know, they're even like, use the example of dad right now, 64, 65, whatever the fuck he is. And like getting
Old bastard.
old fuck, getting that motorcycle and starting to do tours with his boys, I think is the healthiest thing he could have done for himself at this age. Like,
Yeah.
he's out there, he's fucking driving to the East Coast. They're going on crazy treks. Like, think of the spark of life that put in him at his age.
Yeah.
So it's adventure and doing things that you're called to. It's a never ending process.
Yeah. Yeah. It is never ending and it's never too late.
Yeah. It's never fucking too late.
Like, you could be any age, and I'm not saying you got to, you know, go to Guatemala and build a gym and live there for 4 months, but like, you can find things in life that really, really get you going at any age. And then it's up to you whether or not you want to take action and engage with them.
Yeah. Like, just sit down and ask yourself, what's something I've always wanted to do and never done, and just do it.
Yeah. Maybe that's the take home final message of the podcast. When you click the off button or you shut down your Spotify after listening to the podcast, take 5 minutes, sit down, think about something that you've always wanted to do or that you currently want to do in the moment. And what's the first step and first piece of action that you can take in order to make it happen, and fucking do it. Buy the ticket. Let's go.
Buy the ticket, take the ride.
There we go. Good stuff, boys. We'll see you on the next one. The Primitive Patterns Podcast. It's time to live your mystery.